Welcome back to Writing Done Right. Well, today we want to talk a little bit about the differences between self-publishing and vanity publishing, because I've seen that there's a little bit of miscommunication about which is which and what each of these mean. So we'll talk about this in just a moment. So welcome back to Writing Done Right. I'm Tom Morosky, an author and a technology consultant. And here on Writing Done Right, we are going to teach you how to take your draft and actually produce it and get it out into the world. Now, primarily, I function in a couple roles. I do have an indie publishing company, which is not a Vanity Press. It is indie. And I've done Vanity Press works. Never again. In fact, I did an entire video about how bad Vanity Press is. And I've done everything else that I do is self-published. And I want to talk about what are the differences between Vanity Press and self-publishing, because I've seen there's a little bit of confusion about which is which and what each of these terms mean. Particularly, I was reading an article recently in a local source, and the guy says, hey, Vanity Press is here, and self-publishing has never been so good. And I'm like, well, okay, but there's actually two different things there. Vanity is different than self-publishing. So what are your primary issues in this? So first we're going to tackle Vanity Press. And of course I did the whole video on how to or why to avoid Vanity Press. So you can see a more detailed dive into what's up with that in that particular video. We're just going to basically hit the highlights and the summary points here. So a Vanity Press, now the old days of Vanity Press was super expensive. You'd have to run off thousands of copies of your book, and you'd pay them for everything. You'd get boxes full of books, then you had to figure out how to get rid of those. In recent eras, a Vanity Press operates a little bit differently. We now have a lot of elements of self-publishing intertwined with the old Vanity Press. Your primary difference is your Vanity Press setup is a pay-to-publish. So, and the prices are actually astronomically high as to what you could do if you a la carte the self-publishing model. So, of course, I use only two individual listing places, and it takes a grand total of maybe a couple of hours, and my books are in nearly everywhere to buy books in print and in your ebook formats. Audiobooks, also I use two places. That puts the audiobooks basically everywhere. And again, not a lot of difficulty in doing that, once, of course, you have the files. Now, as a technology consultant, part of this channel, Writing Done Right, we're going to teach you how to produce those files. But say you just want to write and you just want to hire somebody, well, I'll do those for you as well. And that's where I'm talking about this a la carte inside of Vanity Press. So you have your book published, and you're going to go through what would be generally termed as a Vanity Press, which oftentimes are billed as self-publishing platforms, and this is what raises the confusion. In the Vanity Press, you're going to pay usually northwards of $1,500 for the privilege of getting your work in print. When you do that, you'll have a little bit of creative control over the cover, but not much at all. They're not going to give you a good book cover. They're going to give you a stock photo and merge and fade it in and basically do about the most generic job you could possibly do on a book cover to get your book into print. Now, you might be able to pay extra for a more custom thing. You can pay extra for extra stock photos. It depends on the company you're working with. But in general, you don't have as much creative control as you do in the true self-publishing area. But you're paying for a single package which covers the design, it covers the ebook, it covers the ISBN, and even the ISBN though, it's their publishing company, of course, so that's all done fairly well. And overall, I found that working with them, you did get a decent quality of a book, albeit the cover wasn't quite as much as what I wanted to do. And of course, I describe in my other video, I look at the differences between the same exact book, what I wanted to do with it versus what they did with it, and you can kind of see those comparisons in that other video. Now, again, you can't really control the design very much, and for you to get an author copy is astronomically high. I actually had to pay about $8 for a copy. Now, if I were buying more than 100 copies, I could get it down to about $7.50. So 50 cents off if I were buying over 100 copies. Over 1,000, I might drop the price down to maybe $7 a copy. Now, if you are unaware of the self-publishing world, the author copies are less than half that amount if I want to order in my own author copies for books. We'll get into that in a moment. The next major issue is your royalty cut is very poor. It's pretty much on par with what you're going to get with traditional publishing. However, with traditional publishing, there's no upfront cost, and depending on the size of an author and the size of the platform you have, you might even get an advance on that. That's kind of where the indie publisher is in the middle. You're not going to pay anything for it. You're still going to get better royalties usually, but you don't get an advance on your royalties. And that's really the issue. So to summarize the biggest problems with the Vanity Press, very large barrier of entry, very high cost of author copies, very low author royalties. I was making maybe $1 a book. And you don't have very little control over the design. You're going to be able to say, yeah, I like this. No, I don't like this. They'll do a few little tweaks, but you're not going to get amazing design qualities for typesetting, for ebook design, for the book covers, things like that. That is Vanity Press. Now, what self-publishing is when you are commissioning or creating the typesetting, the ebooks, the audiobooks, the cover designs, and then you are listing those through a listing agent, either under your own publishing name or just under your own name in general. Now, when you do this, you have complete creative control. Now, this is both good and bad. Sometimes you may not have an eye for a design of what will sell a book. And so it does still pay to do a little bit of consulting, or if you're just not good with graphic design, hire a book creator. But what you can do is you can look at different people, you can interview, you can look at different portfolios, and you can choose the individual people that you are working with. You create the elements of the book. You get your typesetting done. You get your book cover done. You get your ebook done. You get your audiobook done. You bring all these guys in, and when you have all the files together, then you go onto the account with yourself, and then you go ahead and create it. So it's really good to have the creative design, but at the same time, it can be bad if you don't have the eye for the design to know what you're doing. And I always recommend this, though, too, because I do a lot of my own book covers. In fact, I do pretty much all my own book covers, all my own typesetting, all my own everything. I always bounce those off of other people. I want to hear other people's opinions. In my case, I have this channel. I have a much larger technology channel. I have another channel that's in the genre that I write my books in. So I can throw those out to my viewers and get votes or have people let me know what's good, what's bad, what could be changed, things like that. So even though I do my own design, I don't rely entirely on myself for that. I solicit some feedback. Now, we already talked about you can shop designers in self-publishing. The next is you have the highest royalties in the industry. The reason is you're not sharing royalties with anybody. You go the traditional publishing route, you're going to be sharing your royalties with your publisher and with your agent. Okay, you're going to take a very small cut. If you go through a Vanity Press, you're sharing your royalties with them, and then you. In other words, you're getting about the same royalties. Their cut is actually higher than a traditional publisher's cut. They just cut out the agent in the middle and take the agent's fee as well. Interesting. You also have, depending on where you're listing your books, you have the ability to set what is the wholesale discount quantity. So I'm speaking specifically to Ingram. I can go into Ingram and I can set the wholesale discount to either 35% if I want a higher royalty or 55% if I want a lower royalty. Why would you go with a lower royalty? Well, you'd go with a lower royalty if you want to encourage a bookstore to stock your books. That's why you would actually want to do that. But you don't always have to do that. Amazon, it's about, I think you get a 60% royalty from Amazon off the top. And so what happens is whatever the price to produce your book is, you take your retail price, you subtract the price to produce the book, you subtract their royalty percentage, and then you get the difference. The difference is on a Vanity Press book, that's maybe a $12 book, you're going to see $1 versus if you self-publish it, you're probably going to see closer to $5. That's really your difference. So massive, massive take. And by the way, self-publishing and Vanity Press, they're both going to market the same way, unless, of course, you're paying the Vanity Press an extra marketing fee on top of that, which, again, you can hire a publicist for a self-publishing as well. So that's not something you have to be in Vanity Press to do. And the next major advantage in self-publishing is much lower cost for author copies. So for example, when I look at the books back there behind me, I think the most expensive book is Happy Holidays because it's the highest page count. They still cost me about $3 to ship in. It cost me $3 for a book. So if I want to order a bunch of books in, it's absolutely the best for self-publishing because I'm not paying the Vanity Press company a royalty fee to buy my own book. That's really what the difference is. $3 versus $8. That's really the difference. And so ultimately, I wanted to clear up this confusion that Vanity Press and self-publishing are two completely different things, even though all of your Vanity Press, they really feed on the self-publishing market, throwing their services out there, trying to get you to believe that Vanity Press is self-publishing. It's not. It's vanity publishing. And it's generally not a very good way to go. So I encourage you to do your self-publishing. Learn how to do the stuff yourself if you are able. If not, you can hire somebody. There's many other people out there. Of course, I sell the services as well. If you need a book cover or if you need a typesetting done or an ebook done. I don't generally do a lot of audiobook stuff. I do my own audiobook production. I don't like audiobook production. So I'm good at it. I don't like it. So I'd probably encourage you, use one of the other services for your audiobooks, please. But if you do want to hire somebody for the other things, feel free to let me know. And I can actually advise you about the audiobook stuff as well, because there's some extra fun tricks in that industry too. So with that, hopefully this video will help you to get your writing done right.